For our third presenter, again, this is via Zoom. Our speaker, Mrs. Wendy Francis, who is the National Director of Politics, Australian Christian Lobby. Wendy Francis is an Australian political activist. She is a lobbyist on social issues and formerly the Queensland and Northern Territory State Director of the Australian Christian Lobby. Wendy has now been appointed as National Director for Politics. She is also recognized as Australian spokesperson for the rights of children and women against sexual exploitation in all its forms. She has been married with husband Pastor Peter for 42 years, with 3 married children and 11 grandchildren. Friends, let's welcome Mrs. Wendy Francis.
So marriage and family are very important to us. And because of that, it's of deep concern to us to witness what we believe is the deconstruction of family occurring in our nation, but also globally. The institution of marriage and family are under attack. And at the heart of this is a rejection of God, the creator of the world, the one who instituted male and female marriage and family. What we are witnessing is an attempt by governments to remove parental rights to raise our children according to Christian values. And this should be of great concern for us. We must never submit to the government taking over our parenting role. It is a sacred gift from God that we should protect at all costs. The reason I can't be with you today in person is that I'm currently in Canberra in the Australian Capital Territory, along with 5 brave mothers who are standing up for their God-given rights to parent. We're meeting with federal members of Parliament on the issue of transgenderism. Each of these 5 mums have children who have been transgendered through medical procedures. They have been given puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, they've had healthy body parts amputated. It is a rapidly growing phenomenon. Numbers of children with gender confusion or gender dysphoria in Australia have increased in the past few years by 250%. Hundreds of Australian children and adolescents every year enter the pathway of transgendering. 3 of our states have actually passed laws declaring affirmation therapy as the treatment for gender dysphoric children. The Victorian law includes jail terms for parents, counsellors or even medical practitioners who guide gender dysphoric children back to their biological sex. Imagine that. There are a growing number of Australian children and young people who have undergone gender affirmation therapy only to regret the decision and be left scarred and infertile at a very young age. It is good to know that the use of puberty blockers was curtailed in Sweden last year, with a leading paediatrician saying that they chemically castrate children, causing problems with mental health. There's also a top French medical academy that has recently come out and blamed social media for fueling the demand for puberty blockers among teenagers, particularly girls. After parents spoke out publicly against the practice of experimental, non-reversible and damaging treatments for gender dysphoric children, such as puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones and body-altering surgery, the UK National Health Service shut down the Tavistock Gender Clinic. And it's actually now reported that 1,000 families are taking legal action against that clinic for harming their children. Sadly, it is the children who are most damaged from this ideological lie. And yet I fully appreciate the sensitivity of the matter and the very real pain and suffering that occurs for young people who are suffering from gender confusion. But as parents, we must be committed to speaking truth. The truth is found in God's word when in Genesis God says that he created human beings, male and female. In the New Testament in the book of Matthew, Jesus repeats this truth. male and female. And God says that truth sets people free. We are called to be people who pursue truth and speak truth. And so I'm very glad to be able to take these mothers to Parliament to tell their story. They are speaking truth in order to change the laws I've mentioned. It's been an emotional time, and for some of these women, their children are now estranged from them. But they continue to speak out because other children's lives may be saved. In 3 John 3 to 5, we read that John was overjoyed when he heard about the people's devotion to the truth. He said, "I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth." And in this verse, it seems that John wasn't actually talking about his biological children, and yet he loved them as his children and rejoiced that they were walking in the truth. So let us determine to bring our own children up in the way of truth, but also to advocate for our nation's children that truth will once again be proclaimed in their schools and in our public spaces. Thank you.
It's an LGBTQ plus issue. The impact that children, families, the children of transgender, what happens to them? They become confused, like what she said. The sexual orientation is confusing. They wouldn't know, am I a man or a woman? I'm both gender. So this is a moral issue. You know, in the Philippines, there is a bill pending, marriage between man and woman. I don't know what's happening right now at Congress, but I heard it's in the third reading. Well, I'll be one of the people that would rally against it personally. Please don't.